হ্যালো, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। সবাই কেমন আছেন? আমি ফাহিম জাকারিয়া। আমি একজন মনোবিজ্ঞানী এবং সাথে বিজয় কাউন্সেলিং অ্যান্ড ওয়েলনেস ইনস্টিটিউটের অপারেশনস ম্যানেজার হিসেবে কাজ করছি। আপনাদের সবাইকে আবারও একবার স্বাগতম আমাদের নতুন একটি পডকাস্ট এপিসোডে। এবং আমরা আজকে এই দিনে আহ, একটি ইম্পর্টেন্ট বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করব এবং একটি ট্রেন্ডি বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করব, ভাইরাল বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করব। আমরা কম বেশি সবাই ডিপ্রেশনের শব্দটা শুনেছি এবং ডিপ্রেশন মানে কি বা কি কারণে ডিপ্রেশন হয় সেই বিষয়ে শুনেছি। আমরা আজকে আরও গভীরভাবে সেই বিষয়টা জানবো, কিন্তু আমরা তুলনা করব আরেকটা ভাইরাল শব্দ বা আরেকটা ইউজড একটা শব্দ আমাদের ডেইলি লাইফে, যেটাকে আমরা বলি বার্ন আউট। এই বার্ন আউট এবং ডিপ্রেশনের মধ্যে আসলে ডিফারেন্সটা কি, বা বার্ন আউট আসলে বেসিক্যালি কি? আমরা কোনো কাজে যখন অনেক বেশি ওভারওয়েলম হয়ে যাই তখনই সাথে সাথে আমরা বলি যে আমরা বার্ন আউট হয়ে গেছি, বা আমরা কি বলে আমাকে ডিপ্রেস লাগছে, বা আমি এরকম ফিল করছি, আমি আনমোটিভেটেড ফিল করছি। আজকে আমরা এই বিষয়টি আসলে আলোচনা করব। আমাদের এই পডকাস্টের যে গেস্ট খুবই পরিচিত এবং হচ্ছে আমাদের এই অলরেডি আপনি তাকে চিনেন। সে হচ্ছে আমাদের জেকব বার্লিন ভাইয়া।
So, my name's Jacob Berlin. I'm a psychological counselor from America. I work in the field of mental health and also education. I have a doctorate in educational leadership. I have 4 masters. One of them's a master's in clinical mental health counseling. So, burnout and depression are very important because probably a lot of people listening are struggling with possibly the symptoms of burnout or possibly the symptoms of depression. Some of the symptoms are the same and overlap, some of them are different. And it's good to know which one you're experiencing, whether you should go to get counseling or whether you should do some lifestyle changes or both.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming here. And I think it will be a great discussion on burnout and depression. So the audience and also me, I just want to know what exactly is burnout and how do you define it?
Yeah, so the easiest way to think about burnout is prolonged exhaustion and stress. I would say if our bodies are like a car, we've all driven in cars before, and if the fuel is low in a car, almost about to run out, that's burnout. That's what our bodies are like when we're burning out.
I mean, it's a good example, basically. Also, the audience can relate, And so let's just talk about depression a little bit. As you're, psychologist, how do you normally clinically define psychology? So, I mean, how do you normally define depression clinically?
Yeah, so clinically, we use the DSM-5. It's a book for diagnosing people officially with just different clinical mental health diagnoses. And so the biggest difference, I would say, between depression and burnout, like clinically, like some of the symptoms are the same, but clinically, they're going to be manifested differently. I guess in keeping with our car kind of illustration, burnout is when your fuel runs out or is almost empty. But clinical depression would be like something's wrong with the engine and it's either broke down because of a problem with the engine or it's about to break down and the engine's not running correctly. So we can go into a few of the criteria in the DSM-5 for depression. So in terms of the diagnostic criteria for clinical depression, like the main core feature is at least 2 weeks. There's been either persistent, depressed, sad feeling or hopelessness, or 2 weeks of just like a noticeable change in loss of interest in activities and what they're normally doing. There's several other criterias that you have to meet. For instance, lack of sleep or disturbed sleep, inability to concentrate, feeling like dying, or self-harm, suicidal ideations, a few other ones as well. So that would be some of the core diagnostic criteria.
Okay. So there is some confusion between burnout and depression. So why do people confused about burnout and depression? So what is the basic or significant difference between?
Yeah, so exhaustion and lack of sleep are probably where burnout and depression really overlap, because both of those symptoms can be a burnout and depression. So that's one of the confusing, sticky points.
So if someone is feeling exhausted or unmotivated that you said, so how can you be sure that is burnout or depression?
Yeah, probably the easiest, and you can do this at home, self-diagnose yourself with something like, do I have burnout or depression, is your response to real good rest. If you have burnout and you do real rest, not the laying in your bed till 1 o'clock in the morning, doom scrolling, but like actually sleeping and eating well and resting, then if you're struggling with burnout, you should see improvement. However, if you have depression, rest can alleviate some of the symptoms, but if you have clinical depression, rest alone is not going to alleviate your depression. Yeah, you'll need therapy,
Professional help.
Yeah, professional help.
Yeah. So normally, what usually causes burnout?
Usually a lifestyle it would be the main thing. So a lifestyle of not incorporating real sustainable rest. A lot of people think, oh, I can stay up all night one night and then the next night I'll catch up on sleep. Well, our brains don't work like that. It's not like other things in life. You can't catch up on sleep. You need to incorporate real sustainable rest into your daily, weekly, even annual lifestyle.
And I really like the word like sustainable rest. You cannot catch up with the sleeping.
Yes.
It's true. Basically, sometimes in youth people, basically they think that I mean, if I don't sleep for 1 day or like 2 days, it's not gonna hurt me. But the thing is, there will be problems.
Yeah.
And if you don't sleep properly every day, then there is like associated with different other problems.
Yes.
True. So what causes depression? I mean, you said about the depression and signs and symptoms, but what causes it basically?
Yeah, well, there's not just one thing that causes depression, but one of the things I tend to see a lot of, and that I work a lot with in my clients, is just as a result of what we call adverse childhood experiences. So these are experiences in our childhood that might not be clinically traumatic, but sometimes I say with a lowercase t, trauma, or the more professional term would be adverse childhood experiences, which we all to some degree face. We often develop beliefs, really core beliefs about ourselves, like I'm not good enough, nobody's there for me, I'm the only one like this. It's easy to develop those beliefs and that thought process. And a lot of times we find different ways to cope with it in our childhood, our teenage years, our young adult lives. But then we often come to different stages in life, such as adulthood, where those coping mechanisms are no longer working or are making things worse or are just not available. For instance, someone who thinks, I'm not a good person or I'm not good enough, that's a common belief developed in childhood. Well, in primary school and high school, that person might work really hard, be an overachiever, A+, 5.0 student. A lot of times those are the ones that think deep down inside, I'm not good enough. And so they're overcompensating and trying to prove to the rest of the world what they think about themselves, the opposite of what they think about themselves. Well, come to your 30s and 40s, you can't just work hard and get an A+. You might not be that successful. And so this coping mechanism of just doing a good job, working hard, being the best in my class doesn't work as an adult. And so now you have this belief that's been building up that you never really dealt with. You have a life situation that also tells you that you're not good enough. And so that's when someone really loses the battle in their brain against depression and needs professional help.
It's true. Thank you so much.